Hello there everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name is Elliot Webber and it is more news that we've got to talk about today, but unfortunately some sad news which came out yesterday. Unfortunately, One Motorsport have announced that they will be taking a sabbatical or a pause to their Btcc program in 2024. As always, let's get straight into this. First of all, is this a real shock? Not really. This was kind of anticipated given the fact that there had been zero announcements or any type of teasers whatsoever from One Motorsport over the winter. I believe they didn't even do any post-season tests, which again was a kind of a good indicator that they wouldn't be on the grid. Of course, the main indicator was, of course, Josh Cook and Aiden Moffat leaving the team and bringing all of their sponsors over to the new Speedworks satellite team. So yeah, it is a big shame, but at the same time, given recent events that have happened, it wasn't a massive shock. But yeah, it is really disappointing, you know. One Motorsport, despite, of course, in name still being a young team, they have been around for a long time. Of course, they technically returned in 2017 as Btcc Norlin in a pair of Chevys with Dave Newsham and Chris Smiley. They then had Chris Smiley and James Nash and Dan Lloyd for 2018, where of course Dan Lloyd and Chris Smiley would take race victories there. James Nash only doing half the season. And 2019, they of course would be continue being successful with Josh Cook and Chris Smiley. 2020 again with Josh Cook and Tom Chilton and Michael Crease, and then 2021 again with Josh Cook, with Senna Proctor, Dan Camish and Jade Edwards, and again with Josh Cook, Jason Plato and Jade Edwards, and of course into 2023 with Josh Cook, Aiden Moffat and Jade Edwards. So yeah, it's a massive shame to lose a team that has been successful. Of course, a two-time independent teams champion winners, two-time independent drivers champion winners with Josh Cook the past 2 years. So yeah, it is a big shame, and also for the first time, as of right now, the first time in 30 years that we won't have any Hondas on the grid whatsoever, unless of course Team Dynamics make a miraculous comeback with one car. Who knows? But from what's been said in the press release, One Motorsport are planning to return for 2025, and what is at the minute, by the looks of it, going to be a two-car team. They have said that they are only developing two cars for 2025. So whether that means that they'll be back to a two-car squad in 2025, or it means that it will be a two-car squad, but they may get a third car again, who knows. So it seems to me that one of the Hondas have gone back to Team Dynamics. That wouldn't surprise me, as Team Dynamics were helping One Motorsport in 2023. However, it was announced a few weeks ago that Team Dynamics will be partnering with Accelerate for 2024, which is amazing. Also, it was announced today that Nick Halstead will be returning to Accelerate. I'm not going to comment on that. It's no surprise, and I'm not going to comment on it. But yeah, it is talking about One Motorsport. It is a huge shame, especially considering, I'm going to mention it again, I am a Honda fan, and you know, I wasn't as biased, I think, in 2023 because, simply put, my favourite team wasn't there. But I still attracted myself to One Motorsport because of the Honda. My love for Honda, of course. But yeah, now that there are no Hondas, I've not really got a team to support in 2024. But you know, mate, I'm sort of thinking about leaning towards Accelerate this year due to the Dynamics partnership. So it looks like I'll be a Hyundai fanboy for 2024. But if people want to convince me to support like Toyota or anything, or BMW, West Surrey Racing, follow me on X or Twitter. So hello, West Surrey Racing, if you're watching this. But yeah, I don't know. I might go into this completely unbiased for 2024. Who knows? But yeah, as I mentioned, a huge shame that we lose another team for Btcc in 2024. That's now two teams we've lost, but luckily we have actually gained one in Restart Racing. So yeah, but one thing I want to say to some people on the internet, on social media, mainly Facebook, is I've seen a lot of comments talking about the Btcc is dying. Now, I wholeheartedly agree that something needs to be done to financially stabilize all of these teams. We know that only A few of them are financially stable, like West Surrey Racing, like Probably Accelerate, like Alliance Racing now. You know, the top 3 teams are probably most likely financially stable for the rest of the time. Who knows? But it's these independent, smaller teams like One Motorsport, and I mean smaller as in a smaller budget. I don't mean that in any type of performance way. But, you know, these smaller teams like One Motorsport and Team Hard, which were, whilst yes, they were spending a lot of money, that's a lot of money that they most likely didn't have. Like, from what I've heard, One Motorsport couldn't do any tests simply because they couldn't afford to. And, you know, I think Team Hard as well, running 6 cars in 2023 was a big financial kick for them, which is something that I'm sure a lot of people probably didn't agree with. They probably shouldn't have run 6 cars, but who knows, it meant we got more drivers on the grid. So yeah, it's a huge shame, but to say the BTCC is dying, I think is very, it's just not the right thing to say. I mean, let's look at the 2024 grid. We, of course, yes, there are less cars. There are going to be less drivers this year. Of course, we already know we have lost Rory Butcher. We've lost Dan Lloyd. We've lost Jack Butel. We've lost Stephen Jelly. We've lost Ricky Collard. You know, and we're likely, most likely, there will definitely, due to the fact that there are less seats, we are going to lose more drivers. But let's think about it. We've got a new team coming in 2024, bringing back an ex-driver and bringing in a new one, a youngster. That's what the BTCC is about, is bringing in youngsters, I think. But at the same time, to say the BTCC is dying because we've got a low grid is... I think it's wrong. I mean, we don't have a low grid. We are going to see, at the very least, 21 cars on the grid. That is still more cars than Formula One. You know, it's just as many cars on the grid as there are hypercars in the World Endurance Championship this year. I know, of course, that's 2 completely different things, and I'm not making any comparisons. But to say that the BTCC is a small grid is wrong. I mean, you know, I think a lot of people are making comparisons to 2001 and that, and it's just like, really, like in 2001 there were only, I think, 8 full-time drivers in the main touring class. Of course, I know we had the production class to help fill up the gaps, but of course that was a completely separate championship, so we won't talk about that. In 2002 there were only like 12 or 14 touring cars in the touring class, and then 2003 was roughly the same, and then 2004, I think 2004 was just edging onto the 20 plus bracket in some rounds, and then 2005, of course, it once again dipped to around 11 or 12 cars on the grid. But yeah, I mean, there's still more cars on the current grid than there have been for 2001, 2002 and 2005 and that. And even in the last years of the Super Touring era, in 2000, there were only 9 factory cars, obviously, because Ford, Honda, and Vauxhall all had 3 cars per team. So, you know, and plus, of course, McNeil, which made up 10, and then I believe there was another independent team running 2 or 3 cars, I think. So yeah, so to say that the BTCC is dying at this point, no, I don't think it's dying yet. But I do think something needs to be done to make sure that every team that enters needs to be financially stable for at least the next 10 years. I do think there needs to be a regulations change. I do think we need a new car. I think we need another NGTC. We need a new spec car, I think. First of all, don't go to TCR. While of course TCR is much cheaper, I just don't see BTCC ever doing TCR regulations. So yeah, but yeah, something needs to be done in the future to sort it out. Also, sort out the hybrids. I mean, I know I was one of the more welcoming people when it came to the hybrid system. I agree. I do think at first the hybrid system was kind of working, and look at 2022. We had a 3-way championship fight and almost a 4-way championship fight. And then, of course, 2023, I don't think the hybrid worked. I will admit 2023 was a poor year for the hybrid and a poor year in general for BTCC, whilst of course we still had some amazing races, some amazing battles. I think, I think the dominance of Ash Sutton last year, and that's not me having a dig at Ash Sutton. I think, come on, he's a 4-time champion now. We can all agree that Ash Sutton is one of the greats. I think he's got 4 titles. He's going to go down as one of the greats. And I think what Alliance did in 2023 will be remembered for a long, long time, because of course, they had the budget to do so, but that is the issue. Napa had a much bigger budget, from what's been said, than almost any other team. I think the only teams that can rival Alliance in budget is probably Accelerate and BMW or West Surrey Racing. So it makes it difficult for these independent teams, because of course, as we know, Napa Racing are essentially the factory Ford team, and of course BMW, West Surrey Racing are the BMW team, and Accelerate are now sort of a constructor for Hyundai. So it's basically those 3 factory teams, plus Toyota as well, of course, factory Toyota team. But when it comes to like One Motorsport and now Restart Racing and Power Max, they're completely independent. They have no outside budget apart from sponsors. So yeah, I do admit something needs to be done. Whether or not a budget cap needs to be brought in, I think that's something that could be, considered. And I think that needs to, there's never really talk of a budget cap in touring cars, because of course you always think touring cars is cheap. It isn't. Motorsport is never cheap. Trust me, I know that. As someone who has tried to get into racing as a racing driver for many, many years and never worked out. So yeah, motorsport is expensive. It always will be. Plus as well, being in a recession at the minute, the UK is in a recession, for those who don't know, isn't helping either. But yeah, I just think something needs to be done by Toka and by Alan Gow to make sure that we have new teams coming in, to make sure that we have manufacturers interested in the sport, because for almost 20 years it hasn't really been that. Of course, we have had many manufacturers over the years, and of course, as I mentioned, we've got Ford, we've got Toyota, we've got BMW, and we've got Hyundai, but there's really no one else. And of course, go back to the Super Touring era where we had 13 manufacturers in a season once. So I of course, it's never going to be like that again. We're never, ever, probably ever going to see 13 manufacturers in BTCC again, but there needs to be something that does need to be done that makes it financially stable and cheap to run. So yeah, anyway, I've been banging on for too long now, so that's where I'll leave you guys. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. What are your thoughts on the sad departure of One Motorsport? Let me know your thoughts on what you think needs to be done for BTCC to make the BTCC financially accessible and financially stable. So yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and also let me know your predictions for the final 4 seats to be confirmed. We have 1 seat at Power Max yet to be announced. We have 1 seat at Toyota yet to be announced, though. From the rumours, it does look like we are going to get Rob Huff at Toyota. I think that's just a matter of when he gets announced rather than if he gets announced. And of course, we still have 2 seats at BMW. Of course, Colin Turkington is all but confirmed. He's basically confirmed already that he's coming back for 2024. Adam Morgan is yet to be confirmed, but I do think I do think he'll be back. And yeah, there is just 1 seat who's going to replace Stephen Jelly. My guess is it's going to be George Gamble at this point, but again, who knows? So yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.